Right now, there's enough fresh water floating over your backyard to fill buckets. Sometimes dozens of them. Hey friends, welcome back out here to the garden with me. Look at the space between you and this screen. Looks empty, right? Just air. But what if I told you you're sitting in the middle of an invisible ocean? Right now, fresh water is drifting all around you. I'm not speaking in metaphors. I mean real moisture, hanging there and waiting. You can't see it, but it's always been there. And today, I'm going to show you something that sounds impossible until you see it yourself. By the end of this video, you'll know which $12 setup works in dry heat, and which one only works if your nights cool down. One works during the day, another shines at night, and you can build either in about half an hour with simple materials. Picture this. You crack open a cold soda on a hot afternoon. Soon, droplets form on the outside. That water didn't come from inside the can. It came from the air. For those of us who've hauled hoses and prayed for rain, that small moment feels like discovering a hidden door. Because for centuries, people living in dry places have quietly learned how to pull water straight from thin air. No pumps, no wells, no expensive gear. Now, this won't replace a well or flood your garden overnight, but it can help plants survive a dry spell, offer backup when weather turns wild, and teach your grandkids something that feels like magic. Nature rewards understanding, not money. We'll step back to Crimea in 1900, where a man believed giant stone structures could milk the air. Then to southern France in the 1930s, where a beautiful tower failed, but revealed the real secret. We'll meet a desert beetle that solves the problem with quiet elegance. And finally, we'll build two simple systems: a daytime solar still and a nighttime dew harvester. I'll help you choose the one that fits your air and your nights. So, pour some tea and get comfortable. The ocean over your head is real, and today I'll show you how to catch it. The mystery of the stone giants. Our story begins not in a laboratory, but in dust and wind. In 1900, a Russian forester and engineer named Friedrich Sebold hikes the dry hills above Theodosia in Crimea. The land is rough and windy, the kind that makes you wonder how a city ever survived there. Sebold keeps asking one question: where did their water come from? And what he built over 100 years ago is the reason your backyard can make water today. Then he finds something strange. Scattered across the hillside are 13 enormous stone piles, each covering more than 900 square meters and rising nearly 30 feet high. Nearby lie carefully crafted terracotta pipes leading back toward the city. Sebold forms a theory that feels almost too elegant to ignore. These aren't burial mounds. They're machines. He imagines them as cloud milkers. Humid wind passes through loose stones, cools, condenses, and drains into pipes feeding fountains below. His calculations convince him each structure could produce tens of thousands of liters a day. So, in 1912, on Mount Tipaoba, he builds one, a giant cone of stacked stones with a basin at the bottom. No mortar, just loose rock to let air move freely. Then he waits. And here's the part nobody expected. It actually worked. Not at the massive scale he dreamed of, but it works. About 360 liters a day, under ideal coastal conditions. Not enough for a city, but enough for a garden, maybe a household. The physics were real. The idea worked. But reality had other plans. And then, slowly, the stone began to betray him. By 1915, the whole project was shut down, and the world largely forgot about Sebold. Years later, archaeologists re-examined those original stone mounds and concluded he had misunderstood their purpose. Most likely, the piles were burial sites, and the clay pipes dated to medieval times with no connection at all. So, yes, he misread the history. But he didn't misread the sky. Even though his theory wasn't fully correct, that partial success sparked another attempt. In the 1930s, a Belgian engineer named Achille Canopin tried to improve the idea in southern France. He built what he called an aerial well, a tall stone tower that looked more like a fortress than a garden tool. With thick masonry and heavy walls, it radiated confidence. And after all that effort, it produced only a few liters of water a day. A single bucket, barely a whisper, a very public failure. So why did this massive tower flop while simple rock piles could still gather water? The answer is a lesson for every garden, and life itself. Thermal mass. Stone holds heat like a grudge. The sun warms it all day, and long after sunset, it keeps giving that heat back. But without a surface that cools fast, the air has no reason to surrender its water. No cooling, no condensation, no harvest. Canopin built something too massive, too slow to cool, too full of yesterday's heat. Nature shows us the opposite path. If you want to gather water from the air, you don't build a fortress. You build something light enough to cool quickly. And that's where the giants failed. To understand this invisible ocean, we don't need bigger towers. We need something smaller than your thumbnail. A beetle. When ocean fog drifts inland, the beetle climbs a sand dune, angles its body into the breeze, and lets the fog settle on its back. Its shell isn't smooth. It's covered in tiny bumps and valleys. The bumps are hydrophilic. They attract water. The valleys are hydrophobic. They repel it like rain on a waxed car hood. Droplets gather on the peaks, grow heavier, and once large enough, gravity pulls them down the channels into the beetle's mouth. No pumps, no machinery, just surface design and temperature. You already understand this. Think about that cold soda can on a hot afternoon. The outside turns wet. The moisture didn't leak out. It came from the air. The cold surface cools the warm air, forcing it to release water. That moment has a name: the dew point, the exact temperature where air can no longer hold its breath and must let the water go. Now we see what those stone towers missed. They didn't cool enough. They were too heavy, too slow, too full of stored heat. Without a cold surface, you don't get steady condensation. So what should we build? Something that cools fast. Radiative cooling. Gardeners see this every morning. Thick dew can cover grass even when the forecast wasn't cold. After sunset, surfaces release heat into the open sky, especially on clear nights. As they shed heat, they can become cooler than the surrounding air, and that temperature difference invites condensation. That was the missing piece. If you want to catch water, don't build heavy. Build thin, light, and facing the sky. Simple beats complicated, and in a way, it's a lesson about aging. The systems that last aren't the ones clinging to stored heat and noise. They're the ones that let go quickly and make space to receive what they need. Now the story turns practical. There are two simple ways to harvest water on almost no budget. The key is choosing the one that fits your air. If you often wake up to dew on grass or fog on your windshield, the nighttime collector will suit you. If your days are bright and relentlessly sunny, even if nights stay dry, the daytime collector, the solar still, may work better. You won't fill a swimming pool. Some days it's just a cup. On good, humid nights, it's much more. This isn't magic, It's physics, repeated. And, like gardening, it works best when you build small and build more than one. One safety note. A solar still can distill water from damp soil or even salty water, leaving salt and dirt behind. Never use contaminated water from fuel, chemicals, or pesticides. Some toxins can evaporate with the water. Enough towers, enough beetles. Let's build something you can make before dinner. You need 4 items: a shovel, a clean container, a sheet of clear plastic, and a small rock. Choose a sunny location. The sun is your engine. Dig a hole about 3 feet across and 2 feet deep. It doesn't have to be perfect. If digging is hard on your knees, you can sink a large plastic tote halfway into the ground and use the same principle. Physics doesn't care how long you dug. It only cares about temperature difference. Warm air rising. Cool plastic waiting. As you dig, notice whether the soil is damp deeper down. The surface may look dry, but moisture often lingers below. That hidden dampness is what you'll collect. If the soil is dry, add moisture. Fresh green clippings, cut grass, chopped leaves, even kitchen scraps rich in water. In survival cases, people even use salty water, since distillation leaves salt behind. The system doesn't care where the water starts. It only cares that water can turn into vapor inside the pit. Now, place your clean container in the center, because that's where the invisible ocean will begin to fall. Make sure your container sits solid and level. Once the plastic goes over the top, you don't want it tipping. Use a flat stone or firm soil to steady it. Now for the cover and seal. Spread the clear plastic over the hole and pack soil tightly around the edges. You're creating a small, closed environment. If air leaks in and out, you lose heat and efficiency. Press the edges down firmly, like sealing a lid. Place a small rock in the center of the plastic, directly above the cup. The weight pulls the plastic into a gentle cone so droplets slide toward the center. Just make sure the plastic doesn't touch the cup, or water may miss it. A small air gap is perfect. And now, you step back, because the sun is about to do the heavy lifting. And then, if you're patient, you'll see it. The first drop, clear, slow, falling into your cup from nothing but air. Sunlight warms the air inside the pit. Moisture from the soil and plant material turns to vapor, rises, hits the cooler plastic, and condenses. Droplets gather and drip steadily into your cup. You've just built the water cycle, in a hole in your backyard. Evaporation, condensation, collection. For better results, use full sun, keep the seal tight, and make sure there's moisture inside. If you need more water, don't dig deeper. Dig again. Small systems. Repeated. That's how gardens work. That's how physics works too. Now, the nighttime system, the dew harvester. Instead of heating, you create a surface that cools enough to make the air release moisture. Build a simple frame from wood or PVC and stretch a thin sheet across it. Plastic works fine. Insulate underneath with foam board, straw, or even a folded towel to block ground heat. Tilt the frame about 30 degrees, steep enough for water to run down, flat enough to face the sky. Add a simple gutter along the lower edge to guide drips into a container. At night, the surface radiates heat into the open sky and can cool below the surrounding air. When it drops below the dew point, moisture condenses onto it. It's why your grass can be soaked at dawn without rain. Your collector is simply a better designed blade of grass, guiding moisture where you want it. Dew harvesting loves clear skies and quiet nights. Wind steals it. Clouds weaken it. Still air gives it back. If dew is common where you live, this can feel like discovering a daily gift. 2 systems, 2 climates, 1 principle, strong sunshine, use the daytime collector. Humid nights, use the nighttime collector. Unsure? Build small versions of both. The real reward isn't just water in your cup, it's realizing you can create something useful with simple materials and the laws of nature. This idea already matters beyond backyards. The Warka Tower, built from bamboo and mesh, collects fog the same way. Droplets cling, combine, and drip into storage tanks. In Chile and Morocco, fog fences, large nets stretched between poles, catch coastal fog and slowly fill containers. They aren't flashy. They work because they cooperate with the air. The water was always there. We just had to design lightly enough to receive it. So here's the takeaway. This weekend, you can build a working water harvester for about $12. You don't need fancy tools, just basic materials and curiosity. If you can, build one with your grandkids. Let them see those first droplets form. It teaches resilience and confidence in a way no lecture can. The systems that work aren't the heaviest ones. They're the ones that cool quickly, the ones that face the sky, the ones that make space, the beetle's shell, the thin plastic sheet, the sky-facing surface, the bamboo tower. They don't overpower nature, they cooperate with it. And maybe that's the quiet lesson here. Living well isn't about adding more weight. It's about designing smarter. So, tell me, what state are you watching from? Do you see dew most mornings? And which system would you try first? Until next time, keep growing, stay curious, and remember, the simplest solutions are often the strongest ones. Goodbye for now.